Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for day 7 of the Light Wellness Experience Workshop. I'm sorry, day 6. We're on day 6, people. So we still have 3 more days to go after this, which is super exciting because we have so much wonderful information to share with you about the Light Wellness Masters program. And if you were able to join us yesterday, we had our first Q&A discussion with interdisciplinary representative Mr. Robert Soler. He's the VP of Research for BIOS Lighting. His incredible background working with developing human-centric lighting systems to support astronauts orbiting in space on the International Space Station. He is in the process of acquiring his PhD in neurosciences and neurobiology. Very excellent resource. His presentation was on point, and it definitely reiterated the many messages that we've been sharing with you over the course of the first 4 days of this workshop. So if you didn't get a chance to catch it, please watch yesterday's interview with Robert on our on the recordings, or which is also available on our YouTube channel. All of these recordings, whether inside the Facebook group or on the YouTube channel, are available until 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, April 18th. And interestingly enough, our Light Wellness Masters program registration and purchasing period is also only available until 11:59 p.m. on April 18th. After that, the purchase options are going to be removed from the website, and we are not going to be offering this program until the next workshop launch, which is going to be in about 8 to 10 weeks. So stay inside the Facebook group, stay inside your LinkedIn invitations, and inside Light Vitality groups, a LinkedIn business page. We'll be sharing with you in the next 6 weeks or so exactly what date that launch is going to be taking place on and when we are going to be offering open registration into the master's program again. So just that's very important to take away from this, that we are only offering this program and all of the resources inside of it during this period until 11:59 p.m. on April 18th. Just as a reminder, what are you actually getting inside the master's program? What are you getting inside our program that you can't get somewhere else, more specifically, right? So if you all have the opportunity to, I encourage you to go to Light Vitality Group's website, www.lightvitalitygroup.com/community. You can also find the Light Wellness Masters program on the website. If you go onto the top menu bar, you click services, you can click on community, and you can find information on that page as well. But just a little breakdown, I printed it out for you so that I'm giving you everything and details around it, right? So we are going to be breaking down over a 16-week period 5 different areas of critical circadian biofunction health, meaning for every 3 weeks, we are going to be looking very specifically at and making observations within one of those biofunctions. We're going to be talking about sleep health more in depth, gut health more in depth, immune system health and recovery, emotional and mental health, and reproductive health and beyond. So, we are going to be offering if you see, we're also going to be offering interdisciplinary Q&A sessions between LVG and a representative of an industry which supports the light wellness market. That means that we are currently in the process of creating relationships and filling out weekly Q&A discussions with areas and or specialists with an area of expertise inside those health and circadian biofunction education modules. Right now, we currently have a sleep specialist, we have a nutritionist, we have a physical fitness personal trainer, and we have a kind of lighting and neuro health science specialist. So we are still in the process of building those relationships. Now, it is important for me to note that while we are providing these interdisciplinary discussions, they are not going to be regular attendance inside the program. You are going to be doing weekly consultations with a representative of LVG. So that's another thing that we're adding in, right? as we are going through all of these education models or modules, we are going to be providing one-to-one consultation with you so that we can personalize and structure how to best outfit your light wellness and circadian health needs. Um, so you are going to be getting up to 6 consultations, 1 hour consultations with myself, one for each module, and when near the end, of course, we're going to be dropping education and filling out these interdisciplinary discussions as well between myself and another representative of the light wellness market. So I'll be touching base, even if I'm not working with you one-on-one that week, you are still going to be getting some sort of 1 hour education and discussion out of myself personally. You are going to be getting a 30-minute consultation every single week, all 16 weeks with Valerie, currently Valerie. And then as we build our ambassador program and build in more concierge, we'll have more options. And we hope that you may eventually take advantage of becoming one of the ambassadors as well. But you will be getting 30 minutes with Valerie to follow up on our discussions, to check in with her if you have any additional questions, or if you're making observations that you're just trying to put pieces together, right? That she'll be that touch point for you every single week for 30 minutes. We are going to be offering you tools and resources for assessing personal environmental lighting scenarios and personal behavioral tracking. So what does that even mean? We're going to be providing you with a professional light meter. We're giving you a choice of up to $150 worth of spectrally engineered electric lighting solutions provided through BIOS Lighting. We are going to be giving you 2 LED cord and plug dimmers so that you're able to utilize any of the lamps that you put into modular fixtures like table lamps or night lamps that aren't going into your ceiling. We are going to be giving you a color swatch card set for assessing daylight and electric light color temperatures and tonality, right? We are going to be providing you with something called a social rhythm calendar for light and behavioral lifestyle tracking. This is a very unique offer. It is something created by LVG. We did a spin-off version from a very kind of limited behavioral tracking system that was developed for realigning circadian rhythms in bipolar disorder patients, that was created out of the University of Pittsburgh. And when I saw this calculator or this calendar, I was like, oh my gosh, this would be so useful if they included light metric values inside of it. And so we created our own spin-off of the social rhythm calendar while including the behavioral metrics that the University of Pittsburgh included. We have been using this social rhythm calendar with a couple of our program participants thus far, who have been, engaging and working with us on a weekly basis inside the silent pilot program to see if this even works. And so far, the results have been so amazing, not only just in being able to visually see and track their progress, but the comfort that they feel in being able to see it as well, and taking something that, again, as we have kept mentioning, is so intangible and so esoteric, that we have created a way to bring this information to them in a tangible way that grounds it, that they can see where they are struggling versus where they are excelling, and how different things inside their life, different obstacles that come up, are impacting their sleep and their health and well-being. And it's been truly eye-opening, and we're so excited to be able to provide this to you as well. One of the things that is not included on the sheet, and this is because it's new, I just had this conversation with BIOS Lighting last week. They are now offering something called a circadian audit program, meaning that they will be able to come into your home, if you allow them during this pandemic, and take very specific spectral readings and identify the lighting values inside the built environments that you choose to see if your existing lighting is meeting requirements that support circadian health, and to see how far you have to go. What are we going to have to do programmatically in order to get your lighting to that level so that you're getting the healthiest lifestyle under light inside your built environments the same way you would in kind of that morning daylight as well. With that said, we are also going to be including a programming service inside this Light Wellness Masters program, meaning we are going to be breaking down with you over the course of 16 weeks 10 spaces inside your built environment that you feel are the most critical to you and your lifestyle under light. And we are going to be helping you strategize lighting solutions that work best for your personal and behavioral and physiological lifestyle needs to enhance your lifestyle under light. So again, all of this is included inside the Light Wellness Masters program. You get 10 spaces. We're going to be programming with you, not just talking about it. In the past, we're going to be joined, right? Actually, I'll go ahead. This is a good way to segue into it. We have a wonderful, wonderful woman who is providing testimony, Miss Stacey Foster. She was one of our she was one of our challenge participants a year ago, before the Light Wellness Masters program even existed, before, or was even a concept, right? Before we had the Light Wellness Experience workshop. We developed a set of guidelines and said, let's just see if community members will be able to kind of commit to this lifestyle. And so we did a silent outreach to about maybe 24 individuals inside our personal network. About 7 people responded, and then later it became 9 people, and then over the course of a couple of days it turned into a dozen people. So we had a dozen individuals inside our personal network who we sent emails to back and forth. We weren't even touching base regularly every single day. We provided we did talk to them here and there, but for the most part we just said, hey, here are some guidelines, live by them, see if it makes a change, touch back with us if you're comfortable with it. We don't want to step on any toes. We know that health and wellness is a very personal and intimate conversation and topic, and it can be very guarded, right? Because there's so much stigma around health, or, in personal caretaking or lack thereof. And so we were like, all right, let's just give them the guidelines and see if they come back to us, right? And so we did. We saw, multiple, about half of the individuals come back to us and say, hey, I think this is working, and then start asking us more kind of consultative questions like, oh, if I try it this way, will this work? Or what if I have this type of setting or this environment? And so we started working with them a little bit more closely, until, eventually we realized that we need to be touching base with them on a regular basis. And so the Stacey, who's going to be joining us here in just a moment, she is a kind of a wonderful example of why we created the Light Wellness Masters program and why we created this workshop. Because while the guidelines are a great start, it wasn't anywhere near enough the support needed in order to ensure that not only do you understand light wellness and circadian health and light's impact on circadian health in a very intimate and personal and effective way, but to really commit to the practice of becoming light conscious and to being able to make observations so that you can then potentially take to your general practitioner or take to your specialist and start articulating a more comprehensive conversation around circadian health and preventative health that we just aren't seeing today in our traditional healthcare environment. So we have so much more to say after our testimonial, but with no further ado, I would love love to welcome Stacey to the conversation, and so that she can share her experience with you and just let you know all the good things, like, let you know a little bit about what she was experiencing in a life before light consciousness and how she's been moving forward with being light conscious thereafter. So if everyone can drop a comment and say, welcome, Stacey, and thank you so much for sharing, and we're super pumped for you. All right, here we go. Hi, Stacey.
Hi, Gina. Thank you for
You're
having me
welcome.
today.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy that you're choosing to share your story. As I had mentioned, I'm sure you just heard, health and well-being is a very personal and intimate topic, and it's very difficult to share on a public platform. So, more power to you. Thank you so much. Background about, what you do for a living and what kind of a typical day in the life of Stacey was before, you decided to join our 10-day challenge a year ago.
Seems
Right?
like a very long time ago now.
Yeah.
So I work in investment banking as a risk manager, and thanks to COVID, like many people, I am at home permanently. And it was about a year ago we realized this was not a 2-week journey. This was going to be more permanent. And so I, like many people, set up my own home office. I had my own monitor. I had a desk in my spare room. And that room has, just for clarification, this is what happens to me on my calls for work. My dog decides now is the time to get engaged with me. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's the beauty of live. Just, so
It is,
everyone, we
yeah.
all have so much patience and grace with, the fact that we are living from home. And I
We
can't tell you
are.
how many times my little one has run in through the back door, or through the office door when I'm in the middle of a meeting. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to put him on my lap and keep going.
Yep, this is our life.
Yep.
So in that room, I had just 2 windows that were in right behind me where I was working. And I'm really sorry, that's going to distract me. Hold on one second.
Okay, no, go ahead. Take your time. Um, So if you are just joining us, we are having Stacey Foster, who is in investment financial risk, or financial investing, a risk advisor. She joined the Light Wellness Challenge, Light Wellness Experience Challenge a year ago with us before we had instituted any concept of the Experience Workshop or the Light Wellness Masters program. So she's going to be providing a little bit of insight to us about why she decided to join our challenge and the different types of transformations that she saw in herself and in her as well. So she's going to be sharing that information. Cool.
Sorry about that.
Problem.
So it was probably around this time that you guys approached us to participate in this challenge program. And I was in a very dark place of reality, being at home all the time and not knowing what our world was going to look like. So there's a mix of working and kids and school. And I thought, well, I mean, what the heck, it couldn't hurt, right? So when we started on the journey, it took me 3 days, I'd say, to recognize that I was sleeping better and I was more aware of the light around me. So you probably can't see all of it, but I'll show you a little bit. This is my front room, and you can see all these windows that are around me. So I realized this might be a better place to work from. So there's 13 windows in this very open space. And that changed, along with in the evenings, putting the blinds all the way down, but leaving the bottom part open so that the light from the street came in. And we didn't use the overhead lights for a while. It made some differences. So I was sleeping better, like I said. I was eating healthier. At work, I wasn't so irritable on my extended, long 8-9 hours of Zoom calls. So it was really just kind of mini moments that added up to a realization that this is something I needed to do more regularly.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said that when the pandemic started, you transitioned into a home office. Did you find it easier? Like you said, you had the home office and then you had this, kind of nice open space with so many windows. Why did you choose to relocate from that home office into that space? And, were you finding it easy to incorporate light wellness into your lifestyle? And what areas did you really find more difficult,
Hmm.
right?
That's a good question. So, in the beginning of the challenge, I thought I would just go for a walk in the middle of the day and see if being outside would help between 11 and 12. And for a little while it did, but then as we progressed and realized we were staying home for a very long time, the back to reality work life of back to back calls and video all the time like this, and trying to figure out a way we were going to move forward, it was evident I wasn't going to get out for a walk for 15 to 20 minutes every day. So there
Hmm.
was something else that had to change. And that's when I thought I would just come out here and see if this would indirectly help. And I would say it did, for probably quite quickly. I'd say within a few weeks, because I wasn't getting outside, I could see the differences.
Good. So what kind of differences were you seeing? What did you recognize that, helped you realize like, oh, I need to start incorporating this into my life? Or you said day 3 was when you really like, what was it like before you entered into the challenge versus after? What were those transformations? Oh, it looks like Stacey may have frozen on us. Not sure if everyone, let's see. Okay. I am so sorry. It looks like, hey, are you there, Stacey? All right. It looks like we are having some technical difficulties. If you just hold on one moment, we'll try to get Stacey back. All right, Stacey, we lost our connection with Stacey, so unfortunately, we'll see if she's able to jump back on. But in the meantime, I'll talk a little bit more about the master's program. I also have a video testimonial that Stacey provided for our last launch workshop as well. So I'll tell you a little bit about that progression. So over the course of the next few days, you are going to be seeing testimonials from Stacey. You're going to be seeing testimonials from 2 other individuals, and we are able. Sorry about that. Oh, she just lost power. Everyone, that's a big bummer. So this is the beauty of live events, right? You just never know what's going to happen. So we'll figure it out. So I actually really, I hope that she's able to get her power back up, because it's been very interesting that it just so happened that how these testimonials were kind of scheduled. It was unintentional, but each testimonial builds on the other, because Stacey joined us during the pilot challenge, 10-day, experience challenge. And then Matt Birch, who you are going to be meeting on tomorrow, joined us about 6 months ago. And, we had some regular touch points, and we were consulting with each other about once every 4 weeks or so, and just kind of catching up and seeing where you're at. And then Lena, who you're going to be meeting on Saturday, has been doing full-blown master's program. Stacey did not have the lamps. She did not have the social rhythm calendar. She did not have the weekly consultations. She did not have the light meter. She did not have the dimmers, right? She didn't have any of the resources that we're providing inside the Light Wellness Master program, besides touching base with us when she wanted to do, and the Light Wellness Guidelines. And the transformations that she has been able to see just in that respect, and the limited kind of interaction that we've had, has been incredible. And, she's been, very committed to staying in touch with us since we started instituting the more regular consultations. Now, Matt joined us as we were in the process. So after we had the Light Wellness Experience Challenge, we developed something called the Light Wellness Experience Week. Right. And it was the same thing, except this time we created a private Facebook group. We created a 7-day educational platform where we were offering just spectrally engineered light bulbs and lamps. And, and then we were also offering, one-to-one services, saying, hey, if you want the services and the regular consultations, this is the hourly rate. Here are the light bulbs as well. You can, purchase them separately. You can do one or the other and really just lean on natural daylight if you want to. It's entirely up to you. Um, and so, in that time, I developed the social rhythm calendar as well. And I was able to give that to Matt. But in the first experience week, it was really just that. It was just guidelines. It was 7 days of education and then 3 days of letting everyone be. And then on the 10th day, we had a group discussion in a Zoom chat. Where everyone who wanted to participate and was willing to participate showed up, and we got to ask questions. And so we went from a 10-day light wellness challenge, light wellness experience challenge, to a 10-day light wellness experience week / workshop, where we provided daily interaction with you and daily education, and really started asking all of the participants to be accountable for maintaining and committing to the Light Wellness Guidelines rather than just seeing what came back to us. Um, and then so we went from having a dozen people to having just shy of 40 individuals. And so we realized that it wasn't enough, that none of that was enough. It wasn't enough to just give you the guidelines. It wasn't enough to just give education. And it wasn't enough to do a one-time group discussion where we could all interact with each other and have that two-way interaction and that face value. And it wasn't enough to expect people to just buy the products because we have been able to, really show its value, improve its value, right? It was never enough. And so we realized that it was going to take more. It was going to take, in order to get you to commit, and to get individuals to really become light conscious and to not let it fall by the wayside. Because even with individuals like Matt, who you're going to be meeting and hearing from tomorrow, we would check in every 4 weeks and he would say, oh yeah, I remember the guidelines, but you know what? I've been so busy and life gets in the way, and life does get in the way. And this is a lot of information and you're bound to forget some of it. And so even something that I had said and I had educated on 3 or 4 times, and he's someone who takes notes, he's someone who does his own research, right? It still took touching base every 4 weeks for him to become invested in light wellness. And then it wasn't until I said, hey, I developed a program. It's a weekly consultation program for 16 weeks. I think that, yes, while you are making progress, that you would really benefit from something like this. Are you interested in trying it out? And he said, okay, yeah, let's try it. And the results that we're seeing, not only in his health and well-being, in his sleep habits, in his sleep hygiene, in his nutritional health, right? And the efforts that he's making in order to tend to circadian rhythms through nutrition and gut health. He has not only committed to becoming light conscious, but it is providing an awareness and a drive to be more conscious and to commit to other healthy behavioral lifestyles as well. And it's very helpful. It is proven to be very helpful to have that weekly touchstone, because what do they say? It takes 28 days to form a habit, right? And 28 days of doing something every single day. And if you're not being held accountable to actually doing it, right, then a lot of times it slips by the wayside. We all join that, make that gym membership, and we say we're going to go 3 to 4 times a week, and we're lucky if we get there once a week, or if at all. Sometimes we wind up canceling that gym membership, right? We all want to start that meal plan, or that intermittent fasting, or committing to organic only, and or non kind of pre-made or microwavable meals. But at the end of the day, life gets in the way and we're super busy and we're not able to commit to that because we don't have someone else holding someone else accountable, or to really make you be responsible for staying and sticking with it, right? That's pure grit. And so that's what this program is all about. At the end, and why are we doing it? Why should you trust us with it? Right? Because I can tell you firsthand from so much experience as just an individual that this conversation is not happening in traditional healthcare communities. We even have sleep health experts who are joining us who are saying that this is the first time that they are hearing this type of information, and it is blowing their mind, right? Now, it's not the first time that we've heard light is important. No, it's not, right? We read articles all the time. They say go out and get 15 minutes, right? Go get 15 minutes of daylight. They don't tell you when. Sometimes they say go get morning daylight, but they don't necessarily tell you why. They don't tell you how long you need to stay in that daylight, just that it's 15 minutes. They don't tell you the difference between overcast versus bright, sunny, clear skies, right? So, and I know for a fact that we are not having these conversations inside healthcare markets. And why is that happening? Right? Because more often than not, healthcare professionals are legally restricted from giving advice or deploying preventative health messages, right? They know preventative health is important, but they are legally restricted from advising in the direction of holistic natural therapies, and are legally required to give traditional healthcare and pharmaceutical therapies. This is not just me spouting this out. I've had these conversations with medical professionals, with cardiologists, with pulmonologists, with neurologists, right? And I'll explain why I'm having all of these conversations with individuals. And that's something that Stacey will share with you as well. Her computer is back up and running, her power is back, and we are going to reintroduce her back into the conversation. Give us another round of applause, and be great. Thank you so much, Stacey,
No
for
problem.
being able to get it back up and running. We appreciate you sticking with us.
No problem. That happened to me yesterday. I was doing a final interview for someone and everything shut off. And I felt awful because I was the deciding factor for her getting a job or not.
Oh
We
God.
reconnected, but it was fine. So this is our life. We have to just roll with it.
100%.
It's
100%.
actually a segue that helps with another topic I could bring up. Um, when you learn about your health and all different facets of it, you learn how to adapt to the pressures and the stresses that we have in life. This normally I would have been crying or losing my mind a little bit. It's inconvenient, but this is our world. And I think being aware of the impact of water critical, health and wellness critical, light critical, it's made me more conscious about not taking things so seriously, and probably knowing that there's other areas that I can pull from when I'm feeling low, or other people are feeling low
Yeah.
in your world.
Oh, yeah. I remember one of the first times we had a discussion, and I said, okay, what kind of transformations are you seeing? And you had said, on top of, I believe you had mentioned that in the past that you were originally waking up. It was hard for you to fall asleep. You were waking up, right, multiple times a night, and you were very, not temperamental, but things got under your skin so easily, and you reacted in a very emotional way, right? As you
Mm-hmm.
had just mentioned. So tell us a little bit about how that aspect of your sleep health and your mental and emotional health,
Yeah.
how that has transformed since becoming light conscious and deploying,
Mm-hmm.
really strategic lighting solutions throughout your daily life.
So we have a lot of different areas where we can see our own deficiencies. We're very critical of ourselves. And as a single mom of now 11-year-old twins, being a mother, very critical myself, being an employee, very critical, homeowner, critical, friend. And when you can feel yourself getting overtaxed by one or more of these hats we all wear, being able to pull a lever like conscious, oh, I need to probably go to the gym or I need to eat better. And this was a new one for me that I had never learned about, heard about, explored. And after the challenge group, even if I deviated from the focus for a little while, like I did last summer, coming back to it in the fall when I use it, not just for myself, but to look at my children and their own health. It was a way of us to change certain things. So we hadn't at that time had any of the dimmable light bulbs that you guys now offer. That I think that was another lever, I will say, that we could use in our evening time. So children tend to have the witching hour, I call it, which is the time between dinner and bedtime. And when your kids are a little older, like mine, 11, they like electronics time because they've been at school all day. That they feel that's downtime, but I'm realizing it's not downtime. It's actually heightening their emotional pull. And so having this dimmable light now in especially my son's room, which we can go into a little bit, I think it will help him to get ready for bed, that transition time where it's not a natural thing because we're using the nighttime electronics. You know, if we're able to use those to our advantage like this, I think it could help him, especially in the long term.
Yeah, do you mind if we talk about that a little bit? You said there's definitely a significant increase in adolescent kind of mental and emotional crises over the course of the last year. Now, we've seen that, proliferating and really increasing over the course of the last 20 to 30 years in general. But this last year specifically has been so eye-opening to so many individuals. And I know you had shared that there was, an issue that you were facing internally. So it wasn't just that you were sleeping better and that your, mental and emotional health was kind of starting to stabilize and things weren't setting you off anymore, but you started noticing some differences in your son as well. Do you mind sharing some of that?
Sure. So like a lot of preteens, I have boy-girl twins. So my daughter is pretty level-headed and balanced. She's becoming more confident in herself. But my son is really struggling with the pressures of preteen life, the hormone shifts, not being able to switch off at nighttime. He, since the age of probably 9 months, has slept through the night. Very rarely did he wake up. Even when he was potty training, we didn't have a lot of problems. And last year around September, he started waking up between 1 and 3. Couldn't sleep. Didn't know what it was. I thought maybe being home and having had us educate him, which we're not educators. We were doing a terrible job, apparently, according to them. Going back to school, the preteen time, learning new things in 5th grade. I thought maybe that was adding to it. And then he started having a lot of, this might get me emotional, sorry, negative thoughts and commenting on them. But when you build a relationship with your kids where they can open up and tell you what's going on in here, even if they don't understand it, and there's a lot of information out there around preteens, they don't understand what they're feeling, they don't necessarily, and they're not able to articulate it. He was able to identify different things in his life that were making him feel inadequate, invalued, to the point of conversing about going to heaven. And when I recognized that it wasn't just one piece of his world that he felt this impacting, and being able to change things, like I said, getting him these light bulbs, I think will help. He is on a low dose medication, getting him counseling help, even though it's virtual, it doesn't impact them as much, but he's had something. Handling his light when he is on his gaming console, making his blinds open so he gets natural light, helping him with coping mechanisms, like if you're feeling that the draw from this computer screen. We all are on it a lot, probably too much. The blue light, trying to find him like a haze or a shield to cover that blue light. He has glasses like I do, and getting the blue light filter on his glasses. We've done probably everything we possibly can, and it's twofold. I think it's showing your children that you are listening, you're paying attention, and you are actively helping them, and two, that you are educating yourself enough to be able to help them on a regular basis with whatever life throws at them, and to help them rebalance themselves. He's noticed now in the last, I would say, 6 months that we've been working on all these different levers, that at nighttime he prefers to have his blinds open, just in the bottom section, so that he can get the light from the street. He doesn't use a night light clearly anymore at 11. He doesn't put his light on in his room at nighttime. He just uses that light from outside. And now if I have this dimmable light, I feel like that will help him to transition his mind. We've cut out electronics from 8 o'clock at night. He used to do it till 10 o'clock. So, none of us get it perfect, but I think being able to educate and find people who can help you learn a different area of awareness, it is invaluable to us. And I think, 6 months from now, hopefully I can come back on and tell you everything is wonderful and he's great and he is excelled and, all these things. So thanks for letting me share that. I'm sorry, I got a little teary.
Oh, of
Real
course. It's
world.
all no, exactly. It's the real world, and I appreciate you being so open and so vulnerable about it. I can't. I'll admit, literally, even working up to prepare for this testimonial and for the next, 4 days of testimonials, I was crying until the moment we came on the air, and I was like, "Oh my God, I hope my eyes aren't red," because it is so important, because your story and your experience is real and you're not the only one who's going through it, and that's why we appreciate this testimony so much, because when we look at the sleep recommendations for different age groups, and we recognize that modern life and modern commitments and modern demands are getting in the way of achieving those sleeping thresholds, right? And then modern technology on top of it is infringing on our ability to be able to, get those sleeping thresholds as well. We don't realize the havoc that it's actually wreaking on our bodies and on our minds and on our emotions. And it's not just us as individuals
It's our
who
children as
suffer.
well. Mhm.
Children suffer from seeing, yeah, the parent, yeah, from they suffer for themselves. They suffer from seeing. I know it's been so hard in certain age groups, more older age groups. The rates of heart, cardiac events that are kind of being experienced, and it's very difficult for someone in my position or in someone like Robert yesterday, who knows so much about this and are so invested in helping support the lives of others, and just watching it unfold and knowing no one knows why it's happening, but we know.
Yes.
And we're trying to do something about it, but people aren't listening because traditional healthcare isn't telling you, right? Did you ever at any point go and talk to your doctors about circadian health or light's impact on circadian health, in order to see before any kind of prescriptions were prescribed, did they have any input on a natural preventative way in order to kind of rebalance this before we took this next big step with something that could potentially have even more side effects, right?
Yes, yeah. It was something that I had asked her because it wasn't, again, something I had reintroduced into his world, with the whole blinds, going outside, less internet access. And I said, is it something that's hindering his progression and his ability to balance his thoughts, not having enough sunlight, natural light, dimmed light, less blue light? And she said, I really don't know, because it's not in my sphere of acceptable knowledge, of awareness, she said, maybe as a mother, I might say go and explore it. But she said, I don't know. As a professional, it's not something I've looked at. And I wouldn't say she was quick to give us that prescription. I mean, she's known him since he was 4, so she saw the deterioration in his mental health.
Mhm.
But certainly she was welcoming all different areas of our exploration. And certainly his light health was definitely one of them. She supported, but couldn't give me a pamphlet, even, nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And that's very, very typical of how these conversations go in traditional healthcare markets, right? So even if we try to get a specialist inside nutrition and gut health and sleep health and mental and emotional health and reproductive health, there's only so much that they can share. They can share so much about those areas of health, but they can't really share anything about circadian rhythms impact on it or light's impact on circadian rhythms. And so it becomes very difficult to have these types of experiences without having a solution, right? And I'm so glad that, and I remember you mentioning to me at another point that, you see the difference. Do you see the difference in him when you're using electric light solutions and not tailoring a lifestyle under light the way it needs to support circadian health versus when you actually do it with him specifically? And, how are you getting creative with that?
Yes, that's a good question. They have a playroom where they watch TV, and there is a huge light above them with a fan, like most of us have in our rooms. And instead of using that, when they're in that room, we have Christmas lights that they come underneath the TV. So I, I'm going to say, based on all the knowledge that you have shared and Val has shared with me, it may be that it's coming at the right level for them to be able to. Um, yeah, I don't know if it's calming. I don't know what it is, but it's a different dynamic than if I come in there and I'm screaming and yelling and turn on the big light and they're like, "Stop, mom, just stop." And maybe they're becoming more aware of it than they even realize. They don't like the big light on anymore when they're in their rooms or when they're in their playroom because maybe they're feeling like it's too much, it's too intense. They prefer the lower level light to that big light on. My daughter has a bunk bed kind of like this. She
Yeah.
likes to do her homework and do her electronics underneath in the bottom bed. And she has a table next to it. And I've noticed the other day she put a little lamp on there instead of using the big overhead light. So I think with us being aware of it and indirectly influencing them, I think they're becoming more conscious about their environment and creating a more balanced, light environment.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you feel that, I know that when you started this, we didn't have any of the resources or even the interaction put into place to support on the level that we're providing inside the master's program. Do you feel that, over the course of the last year, that you would have benefited from more structure and more feedback and more touch points so that you can put this, really commit to this lifestyle? Because I know you had mentioned that you kind of stopped practicing light wellness in the summer and things started to get really rough emotionally. And you're like, okay, we need to revisit this in, fall and winter. Do you feel that, you would have benefited from some more regular consulting?
I think just a touch point, like any lifestyle change, whether you're trying to go to the gym more or diet or eat differently or, less alcohol consumption, which we all did a little too much over COVID, but we were all balancing back again. Light is the same thing for me. And I think if I had had a regular, even every 2 weeks, some kind of a touch point to say, hey, do you remember we talked about this? Are you doing it or have you seen a change now that you haven't been doing it? That would have definitely been helpful. So we were at the beginning of your journey with this knowledge share, but I think now where you've come is so amazing to see the excitement, enthusiasm, and support because people are more aware of what their needs are, I think. And if you have someone like you or Val or an ambassador, whoever else comes in your team, I think it would be very helpful to have that touch point to remind us of the different skills and tools we can use.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I wish that we had had more of, these services in place when we started, and that not that we had more of these services, because talking on a weekly basis that's just us coming to you, right? But I wish that we had felt more empowered to serve you in this way than we did a year ago. I wish we had known what we know now on the level of support that's truly needed on a regular basis in order to make this happen, because I can't tell you how frustrating it has been for me and Val to touch base with people, 4 weeks later, or say we're going to talk in 2 weeks, and they keep pushing that, back 2 weeks and another 2 weeks, and next thing you know, it's 6 to 8 weeks later, and we're just texting, and they're like, oh yeah, I remember, but I haven't really been doing it. I'm like, you got to do it. You got to do it. I
Yeah,
mean,
consistency.
yeah, consistency. So yeah, I hope that we're able to continue these conversations with you. I look forward to being able to support you. Now, you recently purchased the BIOS light bulbs, and I believe you
Yes.
received them, correct?
I did, yes. So I have
Good.
the can lights, and my father is here in town. He's going to put in some dimmer switches for me, and then the light bulb in Cameron's room I've changed out, and then in my bedroom and one in my daughter's too. So
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we will definitely be touching base with you. I know that you're going to be touching base with Val on a weekly basis. We've already discussed that, so that you can take advantage of these types of services, and that we can just keep supporting you as best we can, because we're not going to let anyone fall through the cracks anymore. That is not what we're here to do. Even if we have to get a little bit pushy, it's truly for your own good. And I know,
okay.
that you've expressed that desire as well. So I promise that we're not going to leave you hanging anymore. So thank you
I
so much
think
for.
I think we all need a little intentional push once in a while for the
Yeah.
right reasons. So thank you very much for all the support you and Val have given us, and for
Thank you.
welcoming me today with all my IT and dog issues. Thanks for
No
letting that
problem.
all happen too.
Well, and you know what? It's a huge testimony to just how this lifestyle has affected you, because like you said, it can throw anyone off of the rails, but to have so much calmness and so much composure, and to be able to kind of just brush it off like, oh, this is life, it is what it is. We're going to deal with it, and the whole world's not going to come crashing down. That takes a lot of mental and emotional grit. And that's something that you can get through this type of practice. So thank you so much for having patience with everything, and for sticking with us and sharing so much wonderful information. And we'll talk to you in like a couple of days.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're
Take
so
care. Good
welcome.
luck.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone, big round of applause for Stacey. Drop a comment, let her know how much you appreciate her joining us, and for her testimony and the vulnerability that it took to share such intimate details. It's a lot. So, well, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, take care. So that got a little emotional, and I'm not going to lie, it gets emotional sometimes when I am working with individuals. We just wind up sometimes, sitting there, they'll be crying. Sometimes I'll wind up crying with them. I'll say, it's okay. And a lot of times it actually winds up being happy tears. I don't want you to think that it's always, kind of despondent. It is, a lot of times I wind up shedding happy tears for the people that I work with, because their results have been so incredible. Now, I know we're kind of bridging into almost a full hour. I do just want to kind of mention a few things as we're going through this. Like she said, she talked to her healthcare provider. They weren't able to provide anything besides, a pharmaceutical or an antidepressant. We're not saying that medications aren't necessary, but medications are a reactive treatment, right? You can't get covered, you can get covered for nutrition plans and nutrition coaches and personal trainers and physical and occupational therapists, but you can only get covered in insurance, and you can only be provided that holistic service once or orthopedic service or therapeutic service, once you have been pre-diagnosed with a condition. Right? You have to be diagnosed with something like diabetes or hypertension or Crohn's or celiac disease, right? Or kidney disease or cancer. You have to get to a point where your health is in such critical danger that insurance is now able to provide something outside of all of the traditional medical practices that it took in order to not prevent that from happening, right? Um, I don't know if some of you have seen this, but reactive healthcare obviously is not preventative healthcare, and that's what light wellness is. It's not the end all be all. It is the starting point. It is the way to tell your body that you need to be keeping things in order. They are the director and they govern all of the biofunctions tied to circadian health, right? So, yes, go out, get that nutritionist, learn your metabolism type, right? But make sure you're keeping your circadian rhythms in line. So everything that you're doing with that nutritionist that you've invested so much money with is actually going to pay off and isn't going to be infringed by the fact or, delayed or halted or just not work altogether because your circadian rhythms aren't aligned. Yes, if you want, go out and get that personal trainer, get that gym membership, but make sure that you're keeping your circadian rhythms intact so that you can recover properly, so that you can have the right respiratory responses and you don't develop some sort of lung condition off of it, right? And make sure that that your muscles are going to grow. Just make sure that you're making the most out of all of the money you're investing in that area of health and wellness, right? Get a therapist. I am a huge advocate for therapy, right? Talk therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, emotional and mental health is so critical, and we all need to be investing in maintaining it, right? We're not saying don't do it. Right? We're saying make sure your circadian rhythms are in line so that the neurotransmitters and the hormones that are responsible for keeping you balanced are intact so that your neurotransmitters and your hormones can actually do the job they were meant to do, right? And traditional healthcare practitioners can't provide this, right? Building standards and building codes, they can't provide this. I'm sure many of you, we mentioned yesterday, Robert Soler, he's an advisor to the Well Building Institute. The Well Building Institute developed something called the Well Building Standard. Well buildings are designed to impact human performance, whereas if you have heard of, LEED, United States Green Building Council, they have LEED performance standards, the LEED building code, that is designed for building performance, and energy requirements in order to create highest building performance. The well building program is designed to impact human performance. And they take in lots of things into consideration. They take in air quality. They take into consideration water quality. They take into consideration off gassing from materials used in interior spaces like paint, like adhesives, like fabrics, right? They take into consideration biophilia. What kind of plant life do you have available, right? Which also induces air quality. And of course, they take into consideration lighting quality. But unfortunately, the scope of work inside lighting against all other areas that they're addressing is the least impactful because so much of human physiology is dependent on very specific biomarkers for circadian health tied to lighting. And unfortunately, electric lighting solutions aren't meeting energy requirements that match what the human physiology requirements are for maintaining proper circadian health. So, yes, while there are guidelines inside the lighting component of a well building standard, they do not come close to matching what our body actually needs. When I mentioned in my background video and my introduction that when I was working as a lighting designer, it was very frustrating for me to be a lighting designer and know that we weren't supporting human health because it just wasn't there yet. Right? The conversations weren't there. The community engagement and education wasn't there. And so we weren't designing lighting solutions for human health, which meant we were designing lighting solutions for aesthetic value that could potentially infringe on health. So I decided that if we were going to get anywhere in the light and health discussion, that I was going to have to be a part of it as well, because there weren't enough impassioned and individuals. I once read a quote somewhere that passion is a combination of, it's a delicate balance of interest and anger, right? It's a high level of interest and a little bit of anger. And that's what I was. I was so interested in supporting individuals and I was so angry that we weren't doing it. And so I decided to work for a manufacturer called Ketra. At the time, they were one of the premier human-centric lighting providers. They developed fixtures, they developed controls. They were one of the very first members, one of 4 members who started the Light and Health Alliance with the Lighting Research Center, the same place that Robert yesterday received his degree from in lighting sciences. Um, and so we worked very closely with the Light and Health Alliance, and I provided the CEU development inside the continued education development inside that organization, and then delivered CE courses inside that organization after working closely with the LRC and the Light and Health Alliance. I then transitioned into becoming the director of business development for lighting and wellness for a technology integrator. And at the time, Ketra had been sold to a major industry, lighting manufacturing not representative, but manufacturer, Lutron. I'm sure all of you have heard of Lutron, right? You have Lutron dimmers and Lutron control systems inside Lutron switches, toggles, or buttons, or seesaws, right? So they're very well known. Lutron bought Ketra, and we became an official provider for Lutron, Ketra, and then we became an official integrator for the Well Building Institute. So now I had moved from Ketra, working directly with the Light and Health Alliance, to moving to this technology integrator, where we were now working directly inside the Well Building Standard and inside the Well Building Institute. And I remember the first time that I had a sit down meeting with the vice president, with the president, with the software engineers, and everyone inside the Well Building Institute. And while they were brilliant and they were driven, and you could tell that they were making differences, you could also tell that they didn't know squat about circadian lighting and circadian health and light's impact on it. And I wound up being one of the individuals in that room to really drive home certain points and say, this is the reason why you're doing this, right? Someone would ask a question, they would answer it, and in my head, I'm like, that's not why we do it. Right. And if someone from the Lighting Research Center were inside this room, they would 100% agree with me. And so, again, I just started getting to the point where I was so interested in making sure that this was done right and delivered properly and effectively, right? But so angry that we just weren't there yet. And that's where Light Vitality Group came from. That's how it was kind of birthed. And that's why the Light Masters or Light Wellness Masters program was created, because we're tired of not seeing enough circadian health conversation happening in traditional medical practices. Right? We're tired of not seeing the proper lighting solutions being created in order to match true human needs, because we're being restricted by energy requirements in building codes, right? We're sick and tired of seeing things not happen in order to help all of us become the best, strongest, healthiest versions of ourselves. And over the course of the last 10 years, I have been gathering hundreds to thousands of articles and engaging in thousands of conversations with healthcare professionals, with lighting professionals, in qualified and accredited organizations and outside of qualified and accredited organizations. And the biggest take back that I took from all of it was that it's not enough. It is not enough for one person to do the digging and to do the research. It is not enough to have one conversation and hope that someone is going to buy into it and to invest in this lifestyle, whether that's financially or behaviorally. Right? It is not enough for all of us to keep moving as agnostic, separate parts, but that we need to create a collaborative, interdisciplinary front in order to deliver solutions, resources, and education to you. And that's what LVG does. I do not promise that inside this Light Wellness Masters program that you are going to get all the answers at once, because it is an accountability program. We are coaching you to help you become accountable. So, yes, while we are going to provide you research and insight into statistics that we have collected, aggregated, interpolated, and designed into educational content for you so that you don't have to spend the hundreds of hours of research going across 20 different markets, right, or more, and reading 50 to 100 papers inside each of those markets, right? We've done that for you. And that's only a piece of what you've seen over the last 4 to 6 days, right? And there's so much more that we can give you. But if you join the Light Wellness Masters program, we're going to be able to have personalized, in-depth conversations about areas of discussion that are important to you. If we don't have the answer, I promise that we are going to get it and we are going to touch back with you. We are not going to leave you hanging. We are going to be providing you a social rhythm calendar, and we're going to expect you to fill it out so that we can report back to you, so that you have that tangible element to be able to look at and track and see and assess your progress, right? So, just so that you know, we're going to wrap up today. Thank you for hanging out with us for over an hour. We have more testimonials that are coming, but I just want you to understand that when it comes to health and wellness, the types of conversations and the types of solutions that we are going to be providing you with inside the Light Wellness Masters program, you're not going to get anywhere else. We know this because we've experienced it firsthand, and it's why we were so impassioned to develop this program, because you need to get it. We need to be able to receive these types of answers. And at the end of the day, there aren't enough individuals who are creating this kind of an impact. And so that's what we want to do for you. We're going to hold your hand through this process, right? We're going to get answers for you in areas where you just weren't able to. And most importantly, we are not only going to be helping you make observations of those transformations in your life, which we guarantee are going to happen at one point or the other. That's why it's a 16-week program and not a 6-week program, right? Because everybody is different and it takes time. And that's why we're asking you to have patience, right? But we are also going to be, through these observations and through these transformations, helping you articulate what your needs are so that the next time you step into your general practitioner's office or your specialist's office, that you are going to be able to have a well-structured, thought out, personal conversation with them that revolves around preventative health and circadian health, and almost challenges them to step up, to say, I need more answers. I need the right answers. And it's not enough to just put a band aid over a bullet hole anymore, right? They are not allowed to work in this capacity, unfortunately, not yet. And so that's what LVG is doing. We're challenging that traditional healthcare market, because traditional healthcare is legally not required or allowed to engage in these types of conversations. And they can't engage in these conversations because of that legal restriction. They aren't taught it in their medical schooling, and they don't perform it in their medical practice. And so that's why we want to work with you, so that you can learn to articulate these concepts and incorporate them into your appointments, right? So that we can start making a change, because light is a basic human right. We need healthy food. Food, what do they say? Food is the body's natural medicine. We are made of 70% water, so we need water in our body. In order to run and to provide energy and burn energy, we need food, right? But in order for us to burn energy, in order for us to metabolize food, in order for us to grow and repair muscles and to allocate all of the nutrients inside of the food that we eat, we need circadian rhythms, which means we need light, all right? So it's not enough for me to sit here in this workshop and ask you to go out there and get it, because after this workshop, 90% of you, probably 95% of you, are going to let this fall to the wayside. You're going to think this was really compelling education and this was really compelling information. And man, I wish I had known it sooner. And then in about 2 weeks, it's going to disappear. We've seen it happen time and time again. And that is why we created the Light Wellness Masters program, so that it doesn't fall to the wayside, so that your health and well-being doesn't continue to slowly crumble, so that you can take preventative measures, so that you don't have to lean on reactive solutions that are potentially going to hurt and damage your health further, right? So, with that said, I'm going to wrap up today. I'm sorry I got a little impassioned over that, right? We had crying, we had anger, we had slamming on the table, but it's just because of how important these conversations are and how important it is to trust that you have someone holding your hand through this process because you didn't know, right? If you saw in my testimony, not a testimony, but my introduction. Again, I talked a little bit about my professional background, but my personal background, and I'll touch on that more tomorrow. But the biggest reason I started incorporating light wellness wasn't just for my sleep wake cycles, wasn't for my, mental and emotional health. While yes, those were starting to crumble because I was on this weird kind of nocturnal sleeping pattern in grad school where I was pulling all-nighters 3 nights in a row and sleeping for 4 hours and waking up for 6 and sleeping for 2 hours and waking up for 4. And I was all over the place. It was for my autoimmune health, right? My autoimmune system was so compromised that it got to the point where I was developing symptoms of lupus, of multiple sclerosis. I had asthma. My skin was breaking out regularly, right? So many areas of my autoimmune health was compromised. And again, it's a cure all, right? I needed to invest in understanding how to incorporate nutrition into circadian health values, how to incorporate exercise into circadian health values, but most importantly, that primary active agent light. And not just go outside and get it for 15 minutes a day, but to really understand when I needed to get it, when I needed to remove it, and what worked best for my lifestyle. And it has taken a decade of working with the right people, of doing my own personal practice, and of talking to thousands of individuals, right? My 10,000 hours of really understanding how to make this work for you and how it changes because every day isn't the same. And every situation and every interaction that we have isn't the same. Some things can set us off. And that's something that we see inside the reports of the social rhythm calendars for individuals who are currently using them, is that there is usually a 2 to 3 day period after a very emotional event occurs where the rhythms kind of get misaligned and sleep is really poor, which means mood is really poor. Eating habits are really, start to take a deficit. And then after they have some time to calm down, they realign, and then you have 4 or 5 days of it being okay. But then boom, life gets in the way again, and something has emotionally rattled you. But over time, you start to notice that something that used to rattle you and keep you tossing and turning for 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night now only takes you about 10 to 20 minutes in order to calm down from and fall back asleep. Those are the types of results that we're seeing, and those are the types of results that we want to give to you. So please seriously consider joining the Light Wellness Masters program. We are only offering it through 11:59 p.m. on April 18th. We will offer it again inside the next Light Wellness Experience workshop, which means that we are only opening up this program every 8 weeks to participants. So get in now. Don't wait another 2 months to see whether or not this is going to work. If you need to, that's fine. More power to you. But I hope that you've seen, at least in the last 4 days, 5 days alone, now 6, that this is real, it's significant, that there are plenty of people talking about it, but not enough is being done, right? We mentioned it. We have sleep health clinicians who are joining us, right, who have been doing this for decades. Light in circadian health and light's impact on health has been around for 3 decades, like well known and established and understood and being researched and refined for 30 years. And this is the first time they're hearing about it in this way. And that's crazy, right? That's crazy. So please stay with us. Come back tomorrow. Help yourself, help us. Let us tell you more about the experiences that other individuals that we're working with are going through and the transformations that they're seeing. I promise you will not be disappointed. And on Friday, we have the COO of BIOS Lighting joining us for another interdisciplinary Q&A where we're going to talk more specifically about the lighting products that are included inside the Light Wellness Masters program, about how to use them, about some of the programming scenarios that they've seen and application scenarios that they've seen, and really just give you more in-depth information about that layer of resources inside the program as well. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate the few of you who have stuck it out for an hour and 15 minutes. Holy cow. But we're going to try to keep it a little bit shorter tomorrow. We just have so much to say about health and well-being, and we just want to make sure that you hear it. So thank you so much. I will see you again tomorrow. Please stick with us. We have 3 more days, where we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 more days of the Light Wellness Experience Workshop. We have 2 incredible testimonies that have kind of graduated with us up till this point. As I mentioned, Stacey was Gen 1. Tomorrow, Matt Birch is Gen 2, and then Lena on Saturday is Gen 3, incorporating just about everything inside the Light Wellness program aside from the spectrally engineered light bulbs. So you definitely don't want to miss it. Today was more about sleep, the sleep testimony and kind of mental health testimony. Tomorrow is really about sleep and emotional testimony and kind of immune system testimony. And then Lena on Saturday is just kind of like the whole shebang, right? Sleep, gut, physical exercise, emotional health. I mean, the transformations that Lena has seen have just been so incredible. She's one of the people that I wind up crying over because I'm just so proud of her progress. And I want to see that progress for you too. So stick with us. I'm going to shut this down and we will see you tomorrow. And please always remember to live lighthearted.